Have you noticed that every single time you go to class or you do mobility work, you feel looser, but then the next day when you're back to doing your work for 8 hours a day, you just end up stiffening right back up to where you were before? The truth is, even with the perfect exercise plan, getting hands-on treatment at physiotherapy, massage, wherever you go, if you don't know the right plan to maintain and actually get mobility gains with a desk job specifically, you're gonna get stuck for a long time. So this video is all about 3 main things that you need to be doing in order to actually make mobility gains for the lower body and for high kicks, but even for upper body. Because a lot of you guys message me talking about being stiff in the upper body, feeling like you can't rotate through your punches. And it makes sense considering you're at a computer or tablet for your whole day. So this whole video is gonna be about things you can do at the desk, off the desk, and right before and after training. So you have the perfect overall plan specifically made for a desk worker. So let's get into number 1. So we're gonna start with upper body actually. So the big thing that a lot of us already know is posture at the desk, right? A lot of you guys know that you're sitting at the desk all rounded. But it's not actually just the rounding that's the problem. The problem is spending too much time in any one position. So when you're sitting like this, it's still pretty much just as bad for you as if you sat like this the entire day. The reason being that your spine loves movement, especially for combat sport athletes that need to rotate and throw punches. When you're sitting all day in like one position, when you go to start to hit the bag, hit pads, etc., if your spine is not rotating and extending that well, then you're going to compensate at the shoulder, the elbow, even the wrist, right? So a lot of people's wrist issues actually starts at the spine. And the 2 main ways, like I was talking about, that your thoracic spine, so your mid-back, doesn't move that much for desk workers is thoracic spine extension and rotation. So I'm gonna show you 2 stretches you can do in order to fix all that up right away. So the first one is called a prayer stretch. So literally, you're at your desk, you're doing your work. After that, you move the thing to the side for a second. Right after that, you're gonna go into this position where you clasp your hands. You're gonna back yourself up. And then from here, you're just gonna take some deep breaths right here while your mid-back is being stretched. So then you can use a rolling chair, slide yourself a little further back. And the point is, you're trying to take a deep breath and bring your kind of sternum or your almost like your chest bone towards the floor. And those deep breaths are going to allow your spine to expand, your rib cage to expand. And that's going to allow you to kind of undo a little bit of that rounding that you're doing throughout the day. And that's going to help, especially grapplers, grappling people back and going to that extension. That's a very important move. And it's very helpful for your shoulder health as well. Now, the other way that I was discussing was rotation, right? So kind of being able to rotate your mid-back. So I do like this stretch too, but sometimes I find that people compensate from the low back and they're not really moving their mid-back as much. So they kind of stretch like this, but their mid-back actually stays tight, and so do their shoulder blades. So this is called the archer stretch. It's one of my favorites, and it's really helpful for that long kind of reach that we need when we're sparring and striking, right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of start with your hands like this. One hand just tucks in, elbows towards the pockets. The other hand reaches as far as you can. You're gonna inhale, and then exhale really deep. And then you're gonna switch, inhale, and then exhale again the other way. So the point is, I don't really care too much about you pulling here that much. I want this arm to extend out. And we're starting to get this mid-back rotating. So I find this a little bit more helpful for opening up the mid-back instead of just always using your low back. These 2 moves at your desk every 1 or 2 hours, to be honest, you're gonna feel like a totally different person. You're gonna feel way smoother when you're hitting the bag, hitting pads, going to class. It's gonna feel like 100 times better when you're doing combat sports. So that's the first part. So now number 2 is the lower body, which, you know, a lot of you guys are really passionate about getting higher kicks and unlocking your mobility. But again, if you're just sitting all day and your hips are not moving, your pelvis is not moving all day, then it's gonna be hard for you to undo that with a mobility plan, right? So we need some things to do during the day as well. So a lot of the things I'm showing you, as you'll see, they're like only 30 seconds a few times a day. So they're very easy to fit into your day Today I'm going to show you two that I think are very beneficial for desk workers to open up some of the key areas that are involved with high kicks, which are the groin or like adductors and the glutes right here. So the first one is called a seated good morning, which helps you open up the groin, which as we know is really important for stretching that leg higher when you kick, right? So we're going to set that up. We're going to turn the feet out as much as you can, not too bent, not too far either. Kind of 90 degree, turning them out, keeping the knees up, keep your pelvis sort of neutral. And then from here, you're going to kind of bring yourself forward, hinging at the hips. Feel this stretch right here. If you feel pressure on your low back, you can kind of use your hands to help you out. Feel that stretch right here. It should feel pretty intense right there. You can even use the hands to push out a little bit. Then push your feet into the ground and bring yourself back up. This works really well, honestly, not on a rolling chair, just because it'll allow you to feel more stable, but you'll feel a nice stretch right there. Big thing here is just be really careful to not overly round your low back to get lower, even if you don't get as low, but your pelvis is kind of neutral here. I don't even know if my pelvis is neutral, but I'm trying my best. So from here, you want to engage your feet in the floor, not use your low back to come back up. And that is a really good way to keep these loose throughout the day as well, right? Instead of just spamming little split stuff, you want something at the desk too. So that's exercise number one. Now exercise two is for these glute areas that get really tight, especially if you're training really hard, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times a week. You're gonna get tight in the glutes trying to repeatedly kick. So what we wanna do is seated figure 4. The way that that works is you're gonna get into this position. Let's say you've been working for a bit, maybe every 1 or 2 hours as well. Same idea, you don't wanna round too much. You don't wanna be stuck here either, kind of neutral. And then from here, you're just gonna kind of lean forward for a few seconds. And then you're gonna push this foot into this knee to use your leg to bring yourself back up. I don't want you to like just use your low back the whole time. I want you to actively engage the muscles that you're stretching for a better result. So just like 3 seconds, kind of hanging out. If you feel good, you can hang out here a little bit longer, but then you're gonna push yourself up. And this is something that you can do. Both of these exercises you can do for about 8 reps, 3 sets. I realized I forgot for the upper body workouts too. Same idea, about 8 reps, 3 sets throughout the day. Just scatter them throughout your day and you're gonna feel way better after. So just give you a side view of this one as well. It doesn't really matter too much to me how low this knee is, just what's comfortable. And then you're gonna come down, don't over round your low back, then push actively with your legs. So these are two of my favorite lower body movements for a desk worker to maintain their mobility for the demands of combat sports. So the second major thing is obviously steps. We've talked about this a lot, but a lot of us are trying to undo 8 hours of sitting with a 1-hour stretching program a few times a week, but it's not gonna work if we're not increasing our overall activity level in some way, right? So the easiest way to do that is honestly just get the steps up. So what that's gonna do is it's gonna allow your hips, your pelvis to kind of get that movement in, and it's going to allow more maintenance of the mobility gains that you're getting in your sessions. So a lot of people think 10K steps, we need 10K steps a day to even have it meaningful. That's not true. As long as you're getting, I'd say between 6 to 8K a day, you're already gonna start to notice gains. But if you actually tracked it, a lot of us are not even getting 4 to 5, especially if you work a desk job. So one of the lowest hanging fruits that you can start to address is getting 6 to 8K steps in a day. Now, a lot of people don't have a treadmill like this just sitting in their house or easily accessible, right? So there's 2 ways around it. Number one, easiest way, just get a walking pad. It's like $80 to $90 on Amazon. You can set it up underneath a standing desk. Like let's say I'm sitting here, I can set it up underneath my standing desk and then do my work. The other thing you can do is set up a walking pad in front of your TV or someplace where you would normally just like rot on the couch. Get those steps in that way when you're taking a break from your work. So these are some of the easiest ways that we can start to get to those 8K to, ideally, if you can, try to push for 10K, but if you can, like I said, between 6 to 8K steps in a day, you're gonna feel way better. You're gonna feel more mobile, both in your upper and your lower body. So now we get down to actually training mobility, which is what a lot of you guys might follow me for. The first part of that being loaded mobility, right? As I've talked about in a lot of my videos in the past, adding a weight to your stretches is one of the easiest ways to actually maintain the mobility gains you're making, but also just get better results that stick around longer. And you don't have to do as much work while doing it, right? By that, I mean, we don't have to spend hours a day stretching. So whatever areas you find to be super tight, like let's say it's your hamstrings and your groin, you can add a weight to that stretch and start to open up those areas with weighted resistance. Now, what this also does is it allows you to strengthen those areas. So not only are you getting flexible, but you're actually gaining the strength to use them when you're going for those high kicks, when you're actually trying to use them against someone or hitting pads, etc. So that's why I really like loaded mobility. You only have to do that about 2 to 3 times a week. If you want to learn more about loaded mobility, check out my first video, Unlocking Head Kicks, the beginner tutorial, which I'm going to link up here as well. And it's the first video I posted on this channel. So that's my guide for how to use loaded mobility effectively and how to figure out what stretches you need. So it has a whole tutorial there. Now, the other part of it is going to be not just loaded mobility, but a warm-up routine to get your body prepared for the demands of kicking, right? Like, let's say you're out here trying to kick a bag. If you've been sitting for 8 hours a day, and especially if you're a little bit older, like 40, 50, 60 years old, your body's probably not really prepared for the sport. You're not just gonna start blasting head kicks, right off the bat. So what you wanna do is have a little bit of a 5-10 minute warm-up routine that's kind of personalized for your desk job routine. Now, I actually have already made one, so instead of walking you through the whole thing here, I'm gonna just link it in the bio, but it should take you 5 minutes and you're gonna notice a big difference while you're kicking after you do this warm-up routine. So now when you're at the bag or you're hitting pads with someone, etc., the one thing to keep in mind is you've been kind of sitting all day in this crunched up sort of position, right? So at the start, instead of just like going straight into smashing the bag with power, what I want you to think about is, how do I open up my body as much as possible, right? To undo what I've done the whole day. So when you're warming up on the bag or even the first couple rounds on pads, I want you to focus on max range. I want you to try to really open up your body as much as possible with both your upper body, your lower body, long arms, establish your range, and using some of the things we opened up in the exercises like that rotation and that long reach, actually applying it on the bag so that we can start to open up the body. And even when you're just shadow boxing, just opening up the body and just focusing on using full spine and shoulder blade extension in all your strikes. And that's going to be something that allows you to apply what we're doing in our mobility work over to martial arts. So at the start, I just want you to worry about distance management and using the bag to open up your body. Same with your shadow boxing. It's one of the ways that we can actually open up our body so we feel good for the demands of the sport. So that has been my entire guide on how you can unlock head kicks and just open up your whole body in under 10 minutes a day as a desk job worker. Now, obviously, if you've been struggling with these things for a long time, this is a little bit more generic advice. The best way to get the most effective results is to work with a professional who understands your sport, who has worked with people and helped people like you already. And that's something that I do, not to plug myself too much, but I'm already in my job. So if you want to learn more about how we can work together to help open up your body in whatever way you might need, just comment the word fighter. I'll reach out to you, maybe leave your most important information or the place to reach you best in the comments below, and I'll reach out. Hopefully you found that helpful and valuable. Follow for more, subscribe for more mobility content for fighters, and keep a lookout for more videos in the future.